Good morning, everybody. You are all very welcome to today's International Student Orientation Information session entitled How the Office of Graduate Education Can Work for You. My name is Anthony Cattle, and I am a program coordinator with the Department of Intercultural Programs here at UT Dallas. So just a bit about our department. The mission of intercultural programs is to lead the university community in opportunities that foster global engagement. Opportunities that foster global engagement by generating experiences that promote, develop, and enhance intercultural program or competence, and by supporting the integration of international students into campus life. Intercultural programs facilitates opportunities for students, faculty, and staff to engage in cross-cultural experiences in collaboration with campus partners, student organizations, and community friends. Intercultural programs assists international students to fulfill their educational purpose by facilitating the understanding of services, guidelines, and culture associated with the success of accomplishing that purpose. So we facilitate events like orientation, international student orientation, and other events aimed at engaging students, both domestic students and international students, as well as faculty, staff, and the community, such as iFriend and iWeek and other programs throughout the semester and the academic year. So today's session was just a few logistics about today's session. You can see and hear us, but we cannot see or hear you. We are all visible, but you are muted and your camera is not visible. So there will be a Q&A session. It's closed right now, but we will open it up at the end of our session today. So once that is open, you will be able to submit your questions in the question box at the top of your screen, and we will respond accordingly. This event is being recorded and will be posted within 48 business hours on our YouTube channel, and you can find the link to that YouTube channel on our department webpage, icp.utdallas.edu. And then lastly, closed captioning is available in multiple languages. So at the top of your screen with the three dots, you can click on Turn on Live Captions, and that will be available to you. So today's session is again entitled How the Office of Graduate Education Can Work for You, and it will be led by Beth Keithley from the Office of Graduate Education. So without further ado, Beth, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I am Beth Keithley. I am here from the Office of Graduate Education, where I work as the fellowship advisor. So that sort of links into exactly what I want to spoil my whole talk today by saying that basically the way the Office of Graduate Education can best work for you is by serving as a hub of information that we provide services, of course, but also we get you to the other services that you need. So if any point you're on campus or off campus, but you have a UTD related question and you're not sure who to ask the Office of Graduate Education. We don't always know the answer right away. The answer is not always, oh, my coworker can help you. Sometimes we need to send you to somebody else in another office, but that's what we do. So with that, I'm going to ask for the next slide. I do want to talk about UT Dallas a little bit before. I don't know how many times you have heard the story of our founding, but because we're the Office of Grad Education and UT Dallas started as a grad education institution, we always think it's kind of important to discuss. So next slide, please, Anthony. So basically what happened was the three founders of Texas Instruments, you can see their pictures there, Eugene McDermott, Eric Johnson, and Cecil Green, wanted to start a graduate research center in Dallas so that essentially they could train people up to come work at UT Dallas. So that is how we started as an institution in 1961. So when you're on campus looking at the map, you will see lots of McDermott, lots of the name Johnson, and lots of the name Green all over campus. Next slide, please. And Texas Instruments still has a very strong presence on campus. We've got a statue of we've got statues on campus of figures from Texas Instruments. Anyway, a few years after several years after Texas Instruments was working with the center, they renamed it, and then they decided to transfer it to the University of Texas at Dallas, and that happened in 1969. Now, I understand I wasn't alive in 1969. I'm sure none of you were either, but from a university point of view, we are quite young. You can see 50 years ago for us wasn't that long. Next slide, please. And we've been, so the whole time we've been a graduate school. We didn't add undergraduates until the 70s, and then started an engineering school, and our first freshman class didn't show up till 1990. So why am I telling you all this? I am telling you all this because we've always been graduate focused, and as a result, we have been the research has been top notch, the equipment has been there, and there's always been an assumption of research, and there's always been an assumption of STEM focused. So if you picked UTD because you wanted to do research and you were excited to do research and you were excited to be in a science and technology heavy, research heavy institution, you are in the right place. Congratulations and welcome. So next slide, please. So our mission is to become one of the nation's best research universities, and the mission statement. So I'm sure you're familiar with mission statements, but UTD has a mission statement, and then all the other offices underneath UTD will exist to support the mission statement of UTD. So we are looking for graduating well-rounded citizens whose education has prepared them for rewarding lives. You'll see when you see our specific office's mission statement how that connects in. So next slide, please. Yeah. So hopefully you would like to be part of, you're already in, so you've picked, but we want to be a top tier public research university. We're Carnegie R1 ranked. We should always aspire to be better, but we've pretty much hit that goal. We're looking for innovative transdisciplinary research and education, and working with K through 12, a responsible global citizen, and one of the most creative and innovative universities in the world. And that is where you guys come in. We need to help you. We will give you the training and the education and what you need, and hopefully we will inspire your creativity and innovation so that after you leave here, you will just be fantastic. So next slide, please. Quickly, where we are now, I want to point out that there are students here from more than 150 countries. And we have faculty from all over the world as well. So if you feel like you are coming a long way from home and you feel like there is going to be no one like you, that is probably not true. Because we do have a huge international population. We're extremely proud of our international population. And although we are about a third graduate students, most of our graduate students are international. So we very much look at things. The International Center obviously looks at things from an international standpoint, but in our Office of Graduate Education, we know who our graduate students are. And as a result, we also look through things through an international lens. So we are very excited to have you here. And like I said, you will find people that will remind you of home, and you will meet people from all over the world. We also are a very new school, not only, as I mentioned before, about the 50 years, but over the last 10 years, we have been building buildings like you wouldn't believe. So you will come to campus and it's very easy to see what our old buildings are and our new buildings, but we are always under construction and always have new and very cool research labs going up. We had a new physics building go up, and a new engineering building has gone up, and we have 2 huge research buildings. So campus is pretty cool. Next slide, please. All right, so you came here to figure out how we can work for you. Let's talk about that specifically. So next slide. I'd already talked about how our mission was going to match up. So we're talking about challenging students, like I said, about that expertise, creativity, and innovation. So that's where we link up. That is our graduate education mission. Let me introduce you to some of our staff with the next slide, please. Before I get to there, though, I do want, so we have a main email education box, gradeducation@utdallas.edu. If you're like me and have had mixed results with I don't think it goes to a specific person email, I hear you, I understand. Let me assure you that everyone in our office looks at the gradeducation@utdallas.edu. We have 3 staff members who, as part of their assigned duties, are to go through those emails several times a day and assign them to various people. And I go in twice a day to make sure that if there's anything assigned to me, it is dealt with. So grad education at UT Dallas gets handled in a timely manner. If you're not sure so to go back to what I said about the beginning, like if you're not sure who to ask and you decide to ask our office, if you're not sure who to ask in our office, gradeducation@utdallas.edu is always a way to go. That being said, if you email me directly, that's fine too. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We have a new director of student success who is very involved in Twitter, has been retweeting things. So if you are trying to decide which one to follow us, which social media resource do I want to use, I would recommend Twitter. However, use whatever makes you happy. We use Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram predominantly to advertise events that are coming up, so you can just see what's happening within our office. But then on Twitter, we will retweet some professional resources and some good articles there. So that was my plug. I think I'm done plugging. Next slide, please. So yeah, here's our office. Juan Gonzalez is our dean. He is great. You will see him around on campus. He will not introduce himself as the dean. He will introduce himself as Juan. So that can be fun. We had a scavenger hunt on campus not too long. Well, it's probably been a year at this point, where Juan would lead the students around to the first stop with mixed results. Ruth Schemmer is our Director of Graduate Student Success. She is brand new. She is in her 2nd week now, but she is looking forward to putting together some programs and things like that with me. I am the Faculty Grant and Distinguished Fellowship Advisor. Most of you will get to know me through workshops on finding funding and things like that. Ladwina Evans is an administrative assistant. You will, if you come to our office, you will meet her. You will also likely meet Leela, who is in charge of our hooding. So she'll be one of the last people for my PhD students out there, she's one of the last people you will start interacting with. We also have our team is divided into what we call student facing, which means like me, I come to orientations and talk to students. And then we have not student facing, which is fine, but so you've got Tangi, who, again, if you see her, it's not a problem, but she mostly deals with our financial things in the office. And then Eric, who's a program manager, what he and his team do, and with the next slide, I'll point out the rest of his team for you. What he and his team do is they work on making sure that you have completed all your degree requirements and that your degree is ready to go. So they call it certification and verification. They certify your degree plan, or they verify your degree plan to make sure everything's ready to go and as through the process. And then when you are done, they certify your degree. This happens behind the scenes. You don't have to engage with them. Everything is fine. So next slide, please, Anthony. So the team, Eric's team is Brooke and Stephanie. Victoria will work on TARA orientation. That is where you will likely to meet her. And then if you're writing a thesis or a dissertation, you will work with our team of Allison and Alyssa. They are the graduate readers, and what they do is help get your dissertation into the UTD format. Now, let me give you a tip here. If you are writing a dissertation or a thesis, go to their formatting workshops before, like the semester before you really have committed to getting your dissertation done. The sooner you get the template, the sooner you get that you're aware of what the dissertation or the thesis needs to look like, and the sooner you get that template, the easier it is for you. So that is just a tip based on experience, kind of the semester before when you start thinking, I really need to start getting this done. That's the semester when you should go to their workshops. All right, next slide, please. There will not be a quiz on our staff. I just want you to see that they're people. And sometimes, I had a student in my office yesterday who was asking me about something, and I said, oh, let me ask Allison. And I knew Monica didn't know who Allison was, but, she's somebody in our office. Anyway, OGE partnerships. We are, if you're familiar with the expression of a hub and spoke of a wheel, we think of ourselves as a hub, and we will help you get to all the spokes of the UTD wheel. If that metaphor didn't work for you, don't worry about it, it's fine. But we do various workshops and information centers and events with the University Career Center, the library, the Military and Veterans Center, the Wellness Center, the Counseling Center, the Office of Research, and the Center for Teaching and Learning. So if you're like, wow, that's a very long list and I'm never going to remember it, and how am I going to meet these people and learn how that, Student Wellness Center can support me as a UTD student? Again, the best way is to work, not the best way, but one good way is to work with the Office of Graduate Education, come to one of our, OGE Student Wellness Center events, and then hear about the Student Wellness Center because we've pulled them in to talk to you about it. So that's when we talk about the partnerships and how we work together. That's what we do. We offer space to other groups on campus to talk to y'all so that you can be aware of what they do. Next slide, please. So here's just some posters of some events we've done. We've got, and again, in partnerships with other organizations. So it's never just us, but with the Career Center, we have the network, and these are from the past semester. So, we have not planned anything for April 7th, 2023, I promise. But networking your way to an opportunity, we have a whole series called Launch Your Future with the University Career Center that will start up again this fall. So there's a whole series, and every month there's a presentation. We work, of course, with the International Center on things like the this basic finance for international students that we had, that we work with intercultural programs for the Global Grad Social. And that is on this, I think that's on the schedule for this fall. And then we have Writing with Style, which is a presentation I do. It's a two-part on sentence and paragraph level writing. And then this poster here was the second one, which was basically making sure the entire document is cohesive. It's more talking about outlining papers than anything else. Then we have a self-compassion. I know there's a sleeping healthy thing we've got that's going on, I think, tomorrow. And then we have fun things like if you're familiar with the 3-minute thesis the 3-minute thesis competition. That is an international competition where students present their research in 3 minutes or less. That is a competition we have every spring, and that is open to graduate students. So keep an eye out on that if public speaking is something you want to do. That actually has cash awards associated with it if you win. And then students get opportunities to travel. I will tell you that for the last 2 years, at least, our winners have been international students. So international students are highly welcome and do great. They do great. But we're off kilter, but in terms of, so our spring winner will go to the fall Southern Council of Southern Graduate Schools competition, and then our winner from 2021 was actually a finalist at the 2022 Council for Southern Graduate Students. He came in 4th place, did fabulous. He was great. So yeah, these are just some things. If you get on Twitter or we send emails, or social media, Instagram or things like that, you will see these posters, you will see these events. Traditionally they've been over Teams. We're starting to be back in person for some of these events, but we do record them and then post them. Next slide, please, Anthony. If you are not familiar with the Graduate Student Assembly, please let me introduce you to this fantastic resource. It started in 2018. It is now a school it's recognized by the school and is organized as an official student organization, and it has representation in student government. The Student Graduate Assembly also has a seat in the Graduate Council, which is a monthly group that meets with the dean and all of the grad representatives from each school. So there's faculty members who represent each school, and they're members of the Graduate Council. If you've heard about how UTD is covering health insurance for graduate students, that was very much the Graduate Student Assembly work, the dean work, but that was a work in partnership, and very much the Graduate Student Assembly kept moving that forward. So the Graduate Student Assembly is a voice that gets heard. They do a lot of social events. Again, my recommendation, quick tip, would be you don't have to join at a leadership level, but get involved and see what's going on. They have also Facebook and Instagram and email. They just got a new cabinet or leadership team, and I know they have been meeting with the dean. I know they did that in the spring, and I am sure they will be doing events in the fall. We, of course, know about them and are associated with them, but they are not part of our office. They are independent. So I can't tell you a whole lot about what their plans are because I don't know, because they don't need to tell me. But I would recommend, following them or just paying attention to their website, whatever makes sense to you. But they're a good group. They do a lot of good social things and definitely worth the time. Next slide, please, Anthony. Okay, I've talked about a lot of how we work with other people. Do we actually do anything ourselves? The answer is yes. I'm going to talk about that. So we, again, as I said earlier, we're divided up into student-facing and non-student facing. These are our student-facing things, and I kind of mentioned these already, but I'm going to do a deeper dive into it. And usually this is where all the questions come when the questions are opened. But we have fellowship support. So a fellowship, if you're familiar with a scholarship, a fellowship is a similar idea. You get money that supports your research as part of your education. So there's a grant writing certificate program, which you can do. Any graduate student is open to that. That is a certificate on top of your degree. There's no charge, there's no cost. And as long as you do it as long as you complete it before you graduate, you're fine. It involves going to some workshops. There's an online training, and then you will write a grant application. If you're not sure at all with that, you're interested in grant writing, grant writing is something you need to do, and you're not sure where to begin, that is an excellent way to do it. We also have a dissertation research award that is up to $5,000 in order to support. The goal of that program is those funds are used to improve your dissertation or hopefully increase or speed up its time to completion. So if there's one little thing you need in order to get done, the dissertation research awards are a good way to go. Applications are accepted for that in the spring. I understand you guys are brand new and you are not there yet, but I just want you to know these resources exist. And then we have some specific workshops on application writing, and I do workshops all the time about all kinds of random things. I'll probably have my emailing in academia at some point this fall. Then when I showed you the staff and I was talking about Allison and Alyssa, and I mentioned thesis and dissertation support, definitely. So we are there to support virtual defenses. So again, I know this is early, but I want you to hear this so that as you get closer to time, maybe these memories get triggered. At the moment, defenses can be 100% in person or 100% virtually. We don't care. We are not big fans of hybrid, though. It just puts the student at a disadvantage. But if you are doing a virtual defense, we will help you with that. If you need a Zoom link or something like that. And we will also be there to do some mild tech support. That happened a lot in 2020, is happening less now. We're still there. We're just sort of listening in. And then they work with they'll work with you in both workshops and one-on-one on formatting and approving your dissertation and getting it done so that you can get out. Because as much as we love having you on campus, we also know that you don't want to be here forever and you want to get graduated. So next slide, please. These are a bit more of the behind the scenes. I mentioned degree certification and verification. Again, this is not something you have to deal with, just know it's happening. Kind of the way, your refrigerator's keeping things cold and if you're not entirely sure how it works, it just happens. You put the bottle of water in there, you close the door, and it will get cold. So just know that it's happening. There's a motor and it's happening. But that's a lot of what our team does, make sure that the policies and procedures and compliance are being followed so that things are going to go smoothly for you, so that there's not a big uh-oh at the end when you think you're done. There's also, I mentioned with Victoria, the orientation. Now, we don't hire, our office does not hire teaching assistants, research assistants, or graduate assistants. That is done by your school. So engineering or management or behavioral and brain sciences, they're the ones, the way you got admitted by the school, they're the ones who will hire the assistants. What we do is we provide all assistance orientation, and then we make sure that if there are any issues or policies or compliance related issues, that we are there to help. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I know that was a lot in a very little time. My whole point was to basically hang out for questions. What I want your takeaway to be is that the Office of Graduate Education is here to help, that people read the graduate education at utdallas.edu. So you should ask us any question you want and we will get you an answer. But that oftentimes that answer means finding somebody else on campus working with one of our partners, and that's okay too. If you ask us a question and we send you to somebody in the library, that's great. We all feel like, and you get your question answered, we feel like that process worked. So definitely take a note of our main email address. Take a look at social media. We haven't really started planning for, we've started planning for the fall, but we haven't gotten very far yet. So if you go to our website, which is that graduate.utdallas.edu that's been in the bottom of all my slides, we do have a calendar of events. There's not a lot there at the moment, but there will be in the next month. So with that, I'm going to open it up to questions. I am here for as long as you need me. I am very excited to have you here, and I look forward to seeing what the Office of Grad Education can do for you.
Beth, thank you very much. One question is appearing right here is common challenges of international students in credit education at UT Dallas.
Some of the common challenges. That's a good question. What are some of the common challenges? I think some of the common challenges, and you guys should also chime in with what you think on that. I think sometimes there is a cultural difference about how education worked at the home country versus the university. In America, American universities tend to be extremely, the word is decentralized, but what that means is that there's a lot of people who are involved in your degree as opposed to having one point of contact. And I do think international graduate students can, if they're not used to that, rightly so, find it a little frustrating when, you know, I ask Beth about this, but I have to ask Allison about this, and I have to ask Eric about this, and I have to ask somebody about that. I think that can be frustrating, which is one of the reasons why we try to alleviate that by using the grad education at UT Dallas box. And if you treat that as one person, if you think of it as a person and just know whoever the right person is will get back to you, we try to alleviate it that way. Obviously, funding is a huge challenge for international students. There is a belief that there is no funding for international students, and that is not true. In the fall, I will have my presentation on finding funding for international students, and I highly recommend you participate in that. Is there a lot of funding for international students? No, but it exists, and people know that there needs to be more funding for international students. So it just requires a little more digging than might be what you want, but I will show you how to do that. I haven't, like I said, I haven't picked a date yet, but it is definitely on my list of things I'm going to do for the fall. I think those are the two big ones. What do y'all think?
Thank you, Beth. I'm certainly think the challenge of culture for them to be able to find the institutional context and to understand what is the ABC of this campus culture, I think is part of the immediate challenges for international students. But certainly, as you mentioned, your team, ICP team, and many other offices across the campus will work in such intentional way to really provide resources, tools for all these international students to have a successful academic and cultural experience at UT Dallas. So, but yeah, you have a very good recommendation for them. Proaction. Ask questions, don't be shy. Please reach out, and we may not have the answer, but we can help you to find resources to find for that answer in your individual circumstances. There is another question right here, Bev, regarding the writing workshops you mentioned. Could you provide more details about the writing workshop? To what extent this is about writing in English as a second language, or is more about the specific style for dissertations or for research publications, documentation?
It is more style than writing in English. I would recommend, so our writing center will work with graduate students. You can make appointments with them. And I think that's your best resource if you need, yeah, writing in English is hard. I've been doing it my whole life, and Yeah, everyone needs an editor all the time. I tend to, so if you know, so I would use those two tools. I would, if I were a student and I was concerned about my writing, and most of the writers I meet, most of the students I meet are much better writers than they think they are. So the way I go about it in my writing workshops is I will teach you how to revise your writing, because my basic, and you guys got me started with your question, but my basic belief is that no one writes well the first time. Your first draft should be bad. It just should be, because you can't fix what doesn't exist. And so my writing workshops are talking through how to go through your draft and make it stronger and make it better. And then I would recommend doing those workshops and then working one-on-one with the Writing Center and getting appointments with them for specific papers that you have.
Beth, thank you very much. That's really helpful, because like anything else, writing in any language is just a matter of practice.
Yes.
It's practice and practice. And even so, maybe a different language, but the specific expectations and the style for your academic and cultural success at UT Dallas, that could be a shade, that could be with the support of the Office of Graduate Education, you can pursue the next level of excellence for your academic success, certainly. But yeah, a great point. That is a matter of practice. Don't be shy and be intentional about it, and you will be successful in that respect. There is another question, Beth, related to working opportunities on campus. As you mentioned, the financial sponsorship is always, one of the common challenges for international students. So what will be your observations, recommendations in terms of job opportunities on campus for master's students versus doctoral students?
So I think doctoral students, that's where the assistantships tend to come in, which I know is I think of as working on campus, because you're going to be in a lab a lot. I don't know if this person asking the question specifically thought of that. And then for assistantships, if there's some left over, they go to master's students. But if I were a master's student, I would not come to campus assuming an assistantship will be available for you. I mean, unless you were told that, that's a different story. But generally speaking, doctoral students will get assistantships and master's students will need other opportunities. That being said, there are positions on campus. Our office, for example, usually has a couple of student workers working on campus, and we tend to look for master's students because, we're the Office of Graduate Education, and there are opportunities on campus for students to work. I suspect there are not enough jobs for all of the master's students who want them. But again, and if you guys are not picking up on the theme that Rodolfo and I are kind of, don't be shy, be intentional, ask questions. The University Career Center, if you go on their website, has not only a page for graduate student, but on a page for on-campus employment. And the sooner you get on there and set up, I think the software system is called Handshake. So once you set up your Handshake account and get your information out there, the better you will be. Let me give you another tip though, because this happens almost every year. So some of you heard me correctly say that the Office of Graduate Education usually has some student workers, and you have said you have made a note to take your resume to Founders Annex 3.104. Here's the thing, we have to take applications over Handshake. So save yourself time and energy and frustration and get on Handshake and explore it that way. rather than walking your application from office to office on campus. It will not serve you because what you will be told over and over again is the truth, that we accept applications only over handshake.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you. That's a great tip. The Career Center is a central point on campus where you can create your own profile in Handshake in this specific software of the Career Center, and then you will be able to apply in simultaneous ways to many different offices and with campus partners and to compete for those positions. As mentioned, Bev, we may not have all the supply for all the master students looking for this position, but certainly if you apply, you're intentional and you compete for those positions, you certainly would, the likelihood to obtain a position will be, relatively speaking, high. But you have to be proactive and competitive. Something to remember is that by the fact that you're an international student, you bring added value to your profile that otherwise other candidates for those positions may not have. So be strategic in the way you profile yourself and you present yourself in terms of your interculturalism in your curriculum vitae, in your resume, and to really enhance your competence for finding the right job on campus. Thank you, Beth.
Sure.
There's a question right here in terms of, in your own perspective, Beth, we know that you have been here in UT Dallas for a long time.
Yeah.
Let me put it
I
in
have
that way.
been.
So you have been observing many of these many successes of international students pursuing graduate programs here at UT Dallas. So in your perspective, and perhaps this is a more subjective question, the balance between academics and social time and social life. What are your perspectives in that respect? What you can recommend to new international students in terms of balancing this academic responsibility and their personal social time?
That's a really good question. It's really hard. I think you have to respect your social time, because here's the thing: at the end of the day, you can't, like, a semester is going to last as long as it lasts. So that whole class is going to last that whole time. So pacing yourself, you can't finish an 8-week class in 2 weeks, no matter how hard you try. You just can't. So slow down, take a deep breath, make sure you are taking some social time. I also am a huge believer, because I've seen it, that you're having a problem, a paper, you're stuck on a paper or you're stuck on an experiment and you can't figure out what's going on. If you do something else, do something completely different for a few hours and let your brain just kind of, I don't know, process it, calculate it in the back, or do whatever the brain does. I don't understand the science of it, but I know it works. If you let it process while you're doing something else, you often will come back, and what you have been trying to push through is, it's going to come to you. The solution will come to you if you give it time. If you're doing something else, if you're just fixating on the issue, it will not. So I don't have a specific answer, like you have to take a 2-day weekend. You always have to take 2 days off. But I have never seen a single study that on anything that suggests that no rest day is bad for, that rest days are bad for you. Rest days are good for you. So make sure as part of your being intentional and asking questions and being involved and getting out there that you are doing social things, because it will be better for you. You will be happier for it. And, just a couple of, taking a couple hours and going to, an iFriends event will be huge, or an iWeek event, or a, global grad event is worth the time. Please don't feel like you should feel guilty for taking time away from your studies. Because, you can't study all the time. You can't get it done any faster. And so you really need to make sure you are enjoying yourself while you're here too. Both, on all intellectual levels.
Thank you, Beth. It's a great advice. It's challenging to maintain those balances, but certainly, nevertheless, it's always good to remember that if you're taking good care of yourself, you will be able to maximize your performance academically. And by the fact that you're healthy in all senses, physically, mentally, and emotionally, you will be able to enhance that success, academic success at UT Dallas. Thank you, Beth. Something more practical, and Beth, is related to academic holds.
Oh.
So basically, you can explain why are these academic holds, and if so, how to release them.
So it depends on the academic hold, but let me start with what are academic holds. So academic holds are, as y'all know, because you're asking about them, something that the UTD is saying you can't register for classes because you haven't done this thing. And so why do they exist? So it depends on the academic hold, the motivation for them. So just for example, new students often have an academic hold where they can't register until, so the academic hold is they can't register until they've talked to their advisor. And the reason for that hold is because it actually goes to what I was talking about earlier about certification and verification and making sure you're on the right degree plan. So if you work with your advisor will get you on the right degree plan. You might feel like, well, I know what I need to take. I mean, it's my degree, it's my education, I know what I'm doing. Yes, but you don't know what the official UT system in the state of Texas rules are about what a degree, in the we're affiliated with a national SACS. We're accredited. So one of the reasons why you came to UTD was it was accredited and it had a strong reputation. And one of the reasons why we have that strong reputation is because we have a system of how students work through their degrees. So if you don't follow that degree plan because you just want to sign up for classes, what could end up happening if we didn't have that academic hold in is you could have basically wasted your whole first semester because you took all these random classes. And then by the time your advisor got a hold of you and walked you through the degree plan, it's too late. And yeah, you can take those classes and you can pay for all those classes and hopefully they'll be fun and beneficial to you, but they're not going to get you any closer to graduating. So those are the reasons. They are not just there to be annoying, although sometimes I do know they can be frustrating. And then how to release them is frankly to do what you are told. So, maybe it's to talk to your advisor, yes, or maybe it's to upload the TB test, although I believe that academic hold finally was released. But there's usually information on what you need to do to release the hold, and that's what you need to do. But they exist predominantly to make sure you are not, I don't want to say messing up, but that is what I'm going to say, that you're messing up your plan or potentially doing yourself some academic harm in terms of your plan.
Mm-hmm. Yes, well explained there. It holds basically, it really help international students to be in alignment with the academic expectations and to ensure that they will have a smooth academic experience to finish the degree, which basically that is the objective of your visa attending UT Dallas, pursuing the specific degree. Thank you, Beth. And certainly, that's a key message from Beth. If you have a hold for action, contact the office that is assigning the hold in your UT Dallas account and obtain guidance to be able to resolve and release that hold as soon as possible. And keep in mind, sometimes you may have positive holds, because if you receive, for instance, a scholarship, that hold will be reflected there in a positive way, which is something good for your UT Dallas account. So don't think that halls are negative things. No, these are halls, are instruments of the institution that help you to enhance your academic success at UT Dallas. Beth, something really interesting. I think this is the first time that I'm hearing this question from an international student. But basically, if you can share to the extent it's possible, because we know each degree is different. But what could be the general doctoral requirements for graduation? And
that's a cool question.
specifically, yes, I really enjoy reading, finding this question. So what are the general doctoral requirements for graduation? But specifically, they're asking, how does the dissertation committee work?
Oh, wow. Somebody's got a lot of foresight. I love it. Okay.
Ah,
So thank you. Yes, I will echo what Rodolfo said, which is that every school does it a little differently. However, traditionally, there are a collection for a PhD student. There is a collection of core classes that every every doctoral student needs to take. You know, every psychology student would have to take, so psychology students would have their own collection of core classes, and biomedical engineering would have their own collection of core classes, and electrical engineering will have their own collection of core classes. But the core classes exist for each doctoral student. And that's usually the first year, maybe the first 2 years, depending. Once you get through those classes, you will start to think about the research that you want to be doing. So as part of your doctoral requirements, you have to produce a unique piece of research, a unique study, and that is the basis for your dissertation. So you will take the classes, do the research, write up the research, and then you will graduate. Now, that is so much easier said than done, I can't tell you. But those are the pieces that, you know, there will be some core classes you have to take, and then you will take a qualifying exam or a first year experience. It has a variety of different names, but there is a point where they say, okay, you are now ready to go into your dissertation work, and there is some milestone that you have to achieve. And then once you achieve that, you will work on your dissertation research. So that's the general doctoral requirements for graduation. How does a dissertation committee work? So over the course of the 4 years you're getting your doctorate, the 5 years you're getting your doctorate, you will work with a pretty common set of faculty members. So you'll have your faculty advisor, who is also your dissertation chair. And then there will be some other faculty members who understand your work in such a way that they can judge if you're ready to graduate. They will make up the bulk of your dissertation committee, and will serve, depending on your research and your relationship with them, you know, in terms of how much you're collaborating research-wise with them. They will be helping you with the research, and probably a bit with helping mentor you through the dissertation writing process. You will also get, and they've got a new name, and Rodolfo pointed out, I've been on campus a long time, so I'm kind of holding on to the old name of outside chair. And that is somebody who is out. So the Office of Graduate Education will assign that person to you, or will work with the schools to assign you that. That is someone outside your discipline. Not necessarily that engineers get economics professors and vice versa, although that can be. But more along the idea that it's within the school. So maybe the economics doctoral student is getting a policy faculty member on the committee. And the idea there in that role, the role of that person is to serve as referee, basically, just to make sure everything is going smoothly with the dissertation. Because sometimes I'm sure you have been in a situation where everyone's talking about one topic and they're really excited about it and they're really passionate about it, and it goes on forever and ever and ever. And then they're like, okay, was this a good conversation? Like, did the student pass? Like, I don't know. It was a great 3-hour chat, though. It was wonderful. We had a blast. Like, did they pass? Oh, I don't know. We didn't follow the rules. So that's the role of the outside chairs, to just kind of like, guys, make sure we're on task. And then you, as the student, will work with the committee to schedule a time, and then they will meet. And but you should think of them as mentors and people who want you to succeed more than some sort of judging group. People can get people at the beginning get very intimidated by the idea of a dissertation committee, because they don't, these aren't people yet, right? There's no names. It's just the dissertation committee of judges. By the time you've set up your dissertation committee, you will know who those members are, and you usually really kind of like them because you've been working with them for the past 3 or 4 years, and you have a sense for them. Yes, they're going to ask you hard questions, and yes, they are going to work you hard, and yes, they're going to ask for one more edit on your dissertation when you just want to be done with it. But they want you to succeed, and they come from that point of view. I hope that answered the question.
Absolutely. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you. Because it could be very a complex performance of the dissertation committee, but you're providing a very accessible way to understand that complexity, and for the members of the committee to be critical, as you say. But that doesn't mean that that you are constraining to what exactly they're expecting. One key piece that you need to keep in mind, to remember, once you're coming to the United States, once you're coming to UT Dallas, is the importance of intellectual freedom. And if somebody is going to enhance your curiosity, your creativity, your intellectual freedom, are going to be precisely the faculty members, and specifically the members of the dissertation committee that will be helping you to formulate, to present, to write, to defend your intellectual freedom for what you create, and adding intellectually, academically to the UT Dallas community, and in general to the US higher educational community. Thank you very much, Beth. So we have 3 minutes, Beth, and if you don't mind, we want to abuse of the use of your time since
Sure.
you're here with us. Final question: your 3 recommendations for a successful, enjoyable academic graduate journey at UT Dallas?
That's a good question. Okay. I think we've been hinting at it the whole time, though. Ask questions. Do not, and this is one, ask questions. We know you're smart. You wouldn't be here if you weren't smart. But so you can ask as many questions as you want. And to Rodolfo's point, that's intellectual curiosity. We look at it as intellectual curiosity. We look at it as, just wanting to understand, expectation management, that kind of stuff. Ask the questions. Be willing to ask the questions. We're not going to suddenly think you shouldn't be at UTD. What we're going to think is like, wow, this is somebody who wants to understand. So ask all the questions you want, and keep asking until not necessarily you get the answer you want, but get the answer. So that would be my first one. Ask the questions. The second one would be to really respect your need to balance between academics and social time. And, so if your whole lab or group, or, if your whole lab is going to go to Northside Draft House and grab some snacks, maybe do it if you can. I mean, don't just, I don't want to look like I'm new. I don't want to look like that person who just leaves the lab. If there's a group thing, do it. Get in, and if there's, if you're not part of a lab, we have organizations all over the place. take advantage of what we've got. Find a group that, you know, with an interest to you, and even if even if it's a group that is somewhat academically inclined, like I don't know, engineering, engineers for service or whatever, do something that's not your research. And the recommendation, those are my 2: academic success.
One more.
I know, I'm like, oh, okay, ask question. And I think you know what, I'm going to steal yours, Rodolfo. Be intentional, plan, think. If you don't have a good system for organizing and keeping track of things, now would be an exceptionally good time before the fall semester starts, to ask people in your life about how they track things. Yeah, be intentional and be aware of deadlines and expectations so that you don't miss them, because it is much easier to know something is due in a couple of weeks and be working towards it, rather than going to class one day and being told that that paper was due yesterday. So those are
that's our good one. Well, let me repeat. 3 recommendations from Beth for successful graduate experience at UT Dallas. Number 1, ask questions. Number 2, respect balance between academics and social life. And number 3, be intentional, proactive, strategic in your planning, expectations, time. That's a good one, Beth. Because here in the U.S., in terms of the U.S. culture, everything is expected with a deadline, with a specific timing, and 1 p.m. means 1 p.m., not 1:15. It's not Latin perception of time or other cultures of perception of time. It's U.S. perception of time. So ensure that you can be strategic, proactive, and always to be ahead of the game, to ensure that you can enjoy and have the balance between academics and social life. Thank you very much, Beth. We really appreciate, and certainly your recommendations are being published right now. And in addition, we had published the webpage of your office and a generic email of your office, Beth, as well, the webpage of the Career Center and the webpage of intercultural programs, certainly, and other resources that could be helpful for the student. With your permission, Beth, we are going to publish this great information session in the channel of ICP, the YouTube channel of ICP, so that this will be available in the next few minutes with the support of Anthony, and certainly for us and for you to be able to share the link with anybody who will be interested in this great presentation and conversation with you, Beth. So that has been my role, facilitating this section of Q&A, and I will ask my colleague Anthony Cahill to provide the final remarks on behalf of Intercultural Programs. One more time, thank you, Beth.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
You're muted, Anthony.
Apologies. Thank you, Beth, for a very informative, very thorough seminar. As a doctoral candidate at another institution myself, I can definitely vouch firsthand for the importance of an office such as the Office of Graduate Education. You know, the whole graduate study experience is such a transformative journey, in both personally, socially, academically. Yeah, and it's a very rewarding journey, but it's also a very, very tough, and it can be a very difficult, challenging journey. So it's really important to have these kind of services such as the ones that OGE offers, and to be able to avail of them, be readily aware of them. So thank you again. This concludes our series of virtual information sessions from Intercultural Programs. So the next step in your orientation process will be the in-person International Student Orientation, which will start on the 2nd of August. So we at ICP are all very excited to begin that that period of orientations, and we hope that you are excited as well. We definitely look forward to welcoming you all to Dallas. Just a final remark, this recording will be available within the next 48 business hours on our YouTube channel. Thank you very much for attending, and thank you again, Beth. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Y'all take care.